Thank you so much. So great to see you all out here on this beautiful day. I hate the sun. I burn easily. It's true. See it on my forehead now. I want to thank FreedomWorks as well for inviting me. You know, it's tough to run as an anti-establishment candidate. The forces against us, folks, are stronger than you know, and they're not just on one side of the ideological fence. As always, I write a speech, but I rarely stick to it. I'd rather speak from the heart. As a friend of mine once said, if I ask you to speak about your daughter, you need to write a speech? I don't. Well, I believe as passionately in these ideas as I do about my family. Folks, it's not elected officials that win elections. It's not. You may have heard that. Their name may be on the sign. But having supported good candidates I believe in and having run myself, it's you. You win elections. You're the ones knocking on the doors. You're the ones making the phone calls. You're the ones passionately selling these ideas. You're the ones losing friends and family who don't agree with you over this. You know, as I said to someone who, one of my neighbors who I appreciate but having a hard time convincing, she said, you know, I don't talk politics. I don't want to lose any friends. I said, well, do you want to lose your country? Because that's where you're going. It's true, folks. The debt of gratitude owed to the grassroots is a bill that can never, ever be repaid. I joined this effort today deliberately, folks. I don't put my name to anything or give a speech at any old rally for any old reason. I believe in FreedomWorks, and I believe in their new fair deal. You know, folks, that's right. You know, we've ceded the moral high ground in politics as a party for too long. We've allowed those on the other side that traffic in nothing but failure to take the moral high ground and paint us as being outside the mainstream. We've allowed this. Now granted, a cooperative media has helped the effort along, but we've allowed it to happen because we have not fought back. In order to fight back, though, we have to understand what we're fighting. Folks, we're talking in the echo chamber here, but I know when you go home, you're going to bring this message out to the masses. The ferocious attack on our liberty at this point in time is nearly unparalleled. The attack on your economic liberty, your healthcare liberty, your educational liberty is very real. It is real, folks. Think about this. Every additional dollar or percentage of your tax rate that goes up is another dollar or another percent of your time where you work for someone else. That is real. That is your liberty. You can touch it. It is your work. It is the calluses on your hands that did that. Every time you have to call someone, a bureaucrat, to get approval to take the pill, and I quote, or get a surgery, quote our benevolent president, that is a decision you can't make. Liberty is a zero-sum game. It cannot be yours and the government's at the same time. Thank you. Folks, the new fair deal, it's a path forward. But most importantly, it's a path that ensures that today is not the best it's ever going to be. We've always assumed that in this country. No one ever thinks today's car is the best car you're ever going to have. The nicest house, the bathroom upgrade, your Anderson windows. We take that for granted here. I've traveled the world as a Secret Service agent, folks. That only happens here. You know, in Cuba, the 1960s car they had was the best they ever had. That is unique to us. The new fair deal paints a different path forward. One that continues that idea we have always taken for granted. And that's why I signed on. So getting into some of the pillars, folks. Thank you. It's weird turning pages. I usually just speak from the heart, so yeah, I'm not accustomed to that. Folks, corporate handouts. You know, one of the great myths of the conservative movement is that, you know, we've abandoned the little guy. Nonsense. Cede the moral high ground no more. What is giving up the little guy fighting cronyism? It's not crony capitalism. There's no such thing. There is freedom in markets and there is not. There's no non-free free market, folks. Free markets are our cause, not theirs. What is fair, benevolent, or honest about telling that Baltimore City plumber from my great state of Maryland that's been hijacked? What is fair about telling him he doesn't get the tax break that GE gets because he can't afford a K Street lobbyist? How did we cede the moral high ground on this? That is our fight. That is yours. That is not theirs. The new fair deal takes a principled stand against cronyism. Not crony capitalism. There is no such thing, folks. Remember, there's no substitute for compassion through prosperity and hope through opportunity. Folks, that means a lot to me. There is no substitute for that. There's no legal substitute and there's no moral substitute. The second pillar, a tax system that's fair. Folks, you know the great irony of the left is they sell you a progressive tax code as being the most fair. When the great irony of the progressive tax code, if you've even taken the time, as most of you have, likely to even look at the data, the left hates data, is that the more progressive the tax code gets, the less rich folks even pay. The tax burden's on you. Folks, a shell game's been played on you. A fool's been made out of you. Progressive taxation is the most regressive taxation of all. I've got a simple math equation for you. I had to write this down because it's very complicated. 15% of a growing pie is greater than 20% of a disappearing one. There is no pie. They're destroying the tax base. Why do you think businesses are leaving to go overseas? Because it's so wonderful looking at the scenery in Indonesia. I love Indonesia. I've been there. There's nothing like the United States. They're leaving because we made them leave. Stand with us, folks, as we stand with the fairness and equity of broad-based economic growth and refuse to succumb to the easy rhetoric of the left on this false promise that's been sold to you. Fair taxation is fair taxation, as simple as that. Thank you, folks. The third and fourth pillar, folks, they may seem distinct, but they're not. Government overspending and individual empowerment. These may seem like separate issues. They're not. You see, as I said to you before, economic liberty is a zero-sum game. You cannot have your dollar in your hand and forfeit it to a government official at the same time, and the value stay with you. You earned it. Now, I want to be clear on this, because the left will paint this as an anti-tax argument. Nonsense. I don't think anybody here, and please raise your hand if you think no one should have to pay $1 of taxes for anything. We had one in the back. There's always one. Even ask a classroom full of kids if they want a homework, there's always one, right? Folks, I say that because all we're arguing for is fair and equitable taxation. I will give my last dollar, and I can guarantee you everybody here would do the same, to support the lives of our veterans coming home, missing eyes, arms, legs. These men and women, some of the veterans here, my friend OP right in front of me, they don't sleep at night in fear sometimes, so we can. We owe them that. We're not saying we don't want to pay taxes. We're saying make it fair. So you don't skew capital allocation, destroy business, drive people out of the state. We are just asking you for fairness. How hard of a sell is that? Don't let them paint you in that box, folks. You know, keep in mind, the great Milton Friedman, if you ever think government can spend your money better than you can, he had this great analogy, right? The 4 ways to spend money. Here are the 4 ways, ranging from most efficient to inefficient. You can spend your money on yourself, the most efficient way, right? What matters? Cost and quality. You're buying yourself a hat or a jacket, the cost matters, and so does the quality, right? Well, it's a little more inefficient. You can spend your money. I've memorized it. I don't actually have to read this. I've said this so many times, this Friedman quote. The second way to do it, you can spend your money on someone else. Cost matters. It's your money. Does quality? Not really. You know, if it's your wife, I know if it's mine. She's home listening, Paula. It better be a good product, but other than that, quality's not as important. What's a third way? More inefficient. Other people spending other people's money on themselves. Does the cost matter? No. Does the quality? You bet. If I'm buying a hotel room and you're paying, I want the best hotel room out there. Pretty inefficient, right? It gets worse. What's the last way? Other people spending other people's money on other people. That's your government. That's it. What matters? Does cost? It's not their money. Does quality? It's not their product either. I would rather them take my tax dollars and buy a Lamborghini for themselves. At least they'd buy the best one out there. That's not what they do. They waste it away. They can never spend your money better than you can. Ever. It's yours. You earned it. Friends, what I've just laid out to you, it's not a liberal plan. It's not a conservative plan. It's not a Democratic plan. It's not a Republican plan. It's an American plan. You know, I was at an event recently in a largely minority community in Maryland, and nobody really knows what I am culturally or ethnically. I like to keep everybody guessing because I tell you, if you don't know, that shows you it doesn't mean anything. We're all Americans. So, but I was at an event, and the Star Spangled Banner came on in the beginning, and you know, I noticed in the room that everyone's hand was over their heart. It wasn't done one way for one group, another way for another group, these inconvenient little boxes the left likes to put people in. But we failed too, folks. We have, as a party. And we have to acknowledge that moving forward. The scourge of slavery, the scourge of discrimination was very real. There are people alive right now who felt that, who bled this. That cause was real. And I know everybody here respects the fight that those people put up with. But I think as a party, at times, we fail to acknowledge that. But I will say on the acknowledgement end on the other side, there are phony folks on the other side who are selling a box of popcorn, who are failing to acknowledge to the communities they represent that there are ideas at work and there are ideas that fail. And the ideas we presented here have given folks a way out, have given them the key to the economic prison some are stuck in. These ideas now, there is compassion in ideas that work, and we have to sell them, folks, and we have to do it now. Ladies and gentlemen, as Anna so eloquently stated before, action matters. Talk is cheap. There is power in now. There is only power in now. There's pain in yesterday. There's elation in yesterday's memories. There's hope in the future. And there's anxiety in the future. But there is only tangible, touchable, material power to change things in the right now. If you don't leave here and do something, this is all for naught. Tweet about it. Register voters. Show up at your meetings. Lose your friends if they're not on board because your country is going. Don't be a part of the problem. Of course, I never stick to the script here. One final thought. You see that? That big old flag? Folks, that's not a flag. It's not a curtain. It's not a tablecloth. It's not a piece of fabric. You know what that is? That's an idea. That is an idea unique to this place. Right now, at this time, it is our idea. That idea is worth fighting for, folks. Do not let it dissipate. Do not be part of the problem. Please go forward and act. God bless America and all of those who defend it. Thank you, folks. It's an honor. Thank you.